Have you ever looked at the clock at the end of the day and thought, where did all my time go? You started with the best intentions, maybe even had a plan, but somehow between emails, meetings, and unexpected distractions, the day slipped through your fingers. If you've ever felt like time is controlling you instead of the other way around, you're not alone. The good news, in just 7 days, you can take back control of your time. And you can do it without feeling guilty about it. Today, I'm giving you a step by step plan to reclaim your time, your energy, and your focus so that you can finally work on what matters instead of just reacting to whatever comes your way. And stick with me to the end of this episode because I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you where you can download this plan for free. It's called the Time Management Mastery Guide that I created just for you and for this episode to go with this episode. And even though I'm going to tell you how to do these things in the episode, don't worry about writing them down because I'm going to show you where you can go get it for absolutely free. Hey, and welcome to My Success Coach podcast. I'm your host, Brian Robinson, and this is the place where we break through overwhelm, we create clarity, and we take focused action so that you can grow personally and professionally. If you're a high achiever who feels stretched thin, trying to balance work, personal goals, and family life, this episode is for you. I know how frustrating it is when you feel like you're given everything you've got, but still ending the day wondering if you actually move the needle. But what if I told you that managing your time isn't about squeezing more into your day? It's about owning your day. And that's exactly what we're diving into. By the end of this episode, you'll have a simple 7-day framework that will help you gain control of your schedule, set stronger boundaries, and create more space for what actually matters. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Before we get into action and the action steps that I'm going to tell you about, let's talk about why this is important. This episode is for you if you constantly feel like there's never enough time to get everything done. I know how that feels. You struggle to say no and feel guilty about setting boundaries. You end most days exhausted, but unsure if you actually made progress. You know you need to be more disciplined with your time, but you're just not sure where to start. Don't worry, I got you covered. If any of that sounds familiar, keep listening because we're about to change that. So let's talk about we're where we're going with this episode today. By the end of this episode, you'll have a 7-day plan to regain control of your time. You'll have a framework that helps you know exactly where your time is going and where it should be going. You'll feel more confident about setting boundaries without guilt. And you'll be able to take real focused action towards your biggest priorities. And the best part, you don't have to overhaul your entire life to make this work. We're taking this one small step at a time. So let's start with a quick mindset shift. There's a quote I love by Jim Rohn, and that quote goes, either you run the day or the day runs you. Let that sink in for a second, because the truth is, if we don't take charge of our time, something else will. It's easy to feel like we're at the mercy of emails, meetings, and everyone else's demands, but the reality, you have more control than you think. And the first step to getting it back is simple: awareness and intention. So, with that in mind, let's get into the 7-day plan to take back control of your time. Here's how this works. Each day for the next 7 days, you'll take one small but powerful step towards reclaiming your time. By the end of the week, you'll feel more in control and less overwhelmed if you follow all the steps I'm going to lay out for you. And you can do this without having to make major life changes. So let's go ahead and break this down. Day one, conduct a time audit. Before you can fix your time management, you need to know where your time is actually going. And trust me, this step is eye-opening. So in day one, this day, today, track everything you do. Use a notebook, or there's an app called Toggle, and I haven't used it, but as I was putting this episode together, I did a search and I found a few apps, but this one, Toggle, seems to do more like what you would need to do in this first day, which is to log how you're spending your time. And this could be from checking your emails to scrolling social media. So here's the actual steps in day one. Log your activities in 30-minute increments for the next 24 hours. Highlight your time wasters or your low priority tasks that aren't serving you. And by serving you, I mean, it's not supporting your vision. It's not supporting where you really want to go. It's not helping you. So here's a coaching question for you or a journaling prompt. What's one surprising thing that you noticed about how you spend your time? Once you see where your time is going, the next step is to take back control, which brings us to day two. Identify your biggest time traps. Now that you have your audit, it's time to find your biggest time drains. Are emails eating up your mornings? Do meetings run longer than they should? Are distractions keeping you from the deep, meaningful work that you need to be doing? So here's an actual step or a journaling prompt to help you with this. Pick one major time waster and decide how you'll limit or eliminate it. Here's a coaching question or a journaling prompt to go along with this. If you had an extra hour every day, how would you use it? And once you know where the leaks are, it's time to refocus, which brings us to day three. Prioritize your top three daily goals. Most people start their day checking emails. Well, that's reactive, not proactive. Instead, I want you to set your top three priorities before the day begins. And this is something I've been doing for years and it works for me so well. So actionable step before bed, write down three high impact tasks for the next day. Here's a coaching question or a journaling prompt for you that relates to this day and this action. If you could only accomplish one thing tomorrow, what would make the biggest difference? So now that you have priorities in place, let's talk about boundaries, which brings us to day four. Set boundaries and protect your time. This is where guilt usually kicks in. But saying no to distraction means that you're saying yes to priorities. So here's an actionable step to help you with this. Set a hard stop for your workday. Create a no interruptions time block for deep work. That's your deep, meaningful work. And here's a coaching question for you that goes along with this day and this action, these actions. What's one boundary you need to set but have been avoiding? Now that you're protecting your time, it's time to lighten your load, which brings us to day five. Delegate or delete. Not everything needs to be done by you. And trust me, I know this step could be super hard. But here's an actionable step that goes with this. Pick one task to delegate, automate, or eliminate today. And here's a coaching question for you to help you with this. What's one thing you do out of habit that no longer serves you? Once you start clearing space, it's time to redesign your schedule, which that's what day six is about. Plan your ideal week. Instead of just reacting, now you get to redesign your week. So here's an actual step that goes along with this. Time block your schedule based on your priorities. And if it doesn't fit with your priorities, then you know what you need to do. Go back to the previous day, which is you delete or you delegate it, right? So here's a coaching question to help you with this. Does your schedule reflect your values, your vision, and your goals? Well, we're almost there. Now let's review and refine, which brings us to day seven, which is review and adjust. The final step is all about reflection. So here's an actual step to help you with this. Write down one major insight from this challenge. So from the whole 7-day challenge on day seven, you reflect on everything you've done. And what's one major insight from this challenge? Here's a coaching question or a journaling prompt for you. What's the one change that made the biggest difference this week? If this episode helped you, grab my time management mastery guide. The link to that is in the description of this episode. And you can also join the Unstoppable email community for more coaching insights. If you need help going through any of these days or all of these days, there's also a link where you can apply to coach with me. Don't worry about it. If you need some help with this, you're not the only one. This happens all the time with people. No one tends to be an expert in all of these things. And a lot of times walking with someone like a coach who can also, like me, who can also be your battle buddy, tends to help you with accountability and support while you're trying to go through this. In the end, you find the clarity, you get the focused action, and you get to grow from it. Thank you for spending this time with me. You can take back control of your time, and I'm here to help you do it. Until next time, keep finding your path.